We're Ashley and Sabrina.
Your co-host for Ruck Up Buttercup podcast.
Military life can be challenging,
but also has its advantages.
Come and be part of the unfiltered
and sometimes unhinged conversations with fellow military spouses, Kayla and Laura, as we dive into the occasional rant
and brave of military life.
Share the stories that make us who we are,
and showcase the amazing organizations
and resources out there that make our lives a little bit better.
Whether you're new
or a seasoned military family,
we all need a little extra love.
Make sure to catch us on Wreath Across America Radio at 11 p.m. on Wednesdays.
Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Ruck Up Buttercup. It's our girl chat, as we all love to have. And today we're just going to talk about something fun, just travel and adventure and like what the military life allows us to do, because we are part of the family and we do have to move all the time. So it kind of forces us to travel. So that's kind of just the topic for the day.
Well, and I love this topic because we hear so many spouses complain about their duty station, about like how there's never anything to do. And I think that's like one of the really big perks of being a military family is the travel that you get to do and you get to experience and the different cultures and the different parts of the country. And if you embrace it, then you can find the really fun spots and the hidden gems and all that kind of stuff. But if you don't embrace it, then it can feel like you're stuck in a really crappy place. But I mean, most of our installations are near so much, especially if you're on the East Coast. Like if you're stationed on the East Coast, the amount of stuff that is in just a short driving distance that you can go visit is insane to me, which is why I always like being on the East Coast when we're looking for
duty. I mean, everything is basically like 12, 15 hours away at the most.
Like you can
drive all the way up the coast.
Yeah, I mean, we've driven down to Disney. You know, we could have flown, yeah, no problem, but like it was a 10-hour drive from Bragg.
Mm-hmm.
We got up the first morning, we got up super early and drove the whole way through. It went by really fast. It was really quick. The kids did great. On the way back was a lot longer. We had to do a lot more stops on that one. But I mean, like, you have Savannah, you have Charleston, you have DC, you have
Myrtle Beach. That's one of our favorite vacation places.
There's so many great spots that you can go visit.
I love when we were at Stewart.
Yeah. Well, and what's great, like you know, even like day trips, like if you're stationed, for instance, like if you're at Bragg, you have the mountains, you have the beach, all within a few hours from each other. Like the mountains are 3 hours, the beach is less than 2, depending on where you're going. And those are easily you could do a day trip if you really wanted to.
And both those can be really affordable trips. Like you're only talking like a tank of gas and then like some lunch materials that you have to bring along. You don't have to make these trips like huge vacations. I think that's kind of like where a lot of military spouses get caught up and they're like, oh, well, we can't afford to go out for the weekend. We can't afford. It's like, you just had to hop in your car and go to some destination, yep. Bring along Lunchables. Then you're spending $10 on food. You'll be fine.
Exactly. Or I mean, there's so many things in these. I think we've talked about this, and this might've been like in the very first season that we talked about some of these perks and stuff like that. But there are like, you know, the Armed Forces Vacation Club. There are installations across the country where they have places where you can rent. So like down at Fort Kerr or Fort Fisher, there is the recreational facility where you can rent a house. It's super affordable, way cheaper than actually renting a beach house. Now, is it the same standard? No, it is government style housing, but it gets the job done. Like, I mean,
you're not in the house much when you're down there.
No. Like, we're not in the house. I mean, you know, we came with a lot of stuff with us because the first time we went, there were a lot of things missing. Like, you know, there wasn't a can opener and like, you didn't, you know, when you didn't know there was a can opener, you brought like all these things that you need to open with cans. That was kind of like a pain. Like we had to run to the store to get a can opener. So like, we kind of just brought the essentials with us the second time we went, and it was great. Like we didn't have to worry about things not being in there. It was like a full kitchen, bathrooms, bedrooms.
There's one near Destin too. It's the Marine base that's down there.
Yep.
And
I think it's mostly the Navies that do it, because I think the one at Fort Fisher is also run Navy. I think it's Navy.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know.
There's one in Galveston too.
Use it no matter what branch you're in. Yeah, what, and I think there's one near Virginia Beach too. I could be wrong on that,
I
but
think they're around a lot of the
there are a
bases if
lot. You
you
just
just
have
try
to
to
look.
look for them, because I know in Hawaii there's also one there
Yeah,
where you can rent houses along the beach.
but like Disney going to is like
There's one at
literally
Disney.
Disney. I mean, Disney, like the thought of Disney and the price point is so scary. But then if you think about it, like if you plan ahead, which we all know that that doesn't always can happen. But if you use shades of green, it's like 200 and something dollars a night. Like, and that's really not that bad for going to a deluxe like
So
resort.
we're in the process of doing that right now, and use shades of green, and then definitely buy your tickets through the MWR or check VetTix because sometimes they're on there. If you're not signed up for VetTix, you are missing out on free stuff.
Yes. Oh my god, I love it.
You will get spam daily with like 15 things of email, but
But
the free
but it's
tickets,
nice because then you'll know like if something's been added and you can look at different parts of the country. Like if you know you're going on vacation in
yeah,
Florida, you can change it to Florida. I have it set up in my region so I can just kind of toggle between North Carolina, South Carolina, Tennessee, and Georgia to see if there's anything happening. But that's a great thing to use.
if your family's into sports, the amount of football tickets, basketball tickets, I've seen March Madness ones pop up this
I
week.
I got Brad Paisley tickets off of it when we were in Alaska. So, but yeah,
It's worth it.
it's worth it. And I mean, honestly, like it doesn't cost you anything to do it anyway.
No,
So like it's just another benefit. Like you have your service member sign up for it and you can have access to it. But they have events too. Like I think like they had NASCAR on there the other day.
yeah,
They have comedy shows, they have music events, they have tickets. But like things like, utilizing those tickets, like, the Disney tickets, the Universal has like where it's like a year membership for military and you pay like a certain amount of money. So like, like I was telling the kids, I was like, well, if we move to, if we go to Fort Benning now, I guess is what it is. See, this is going to throw me for a loop. Everything
They all keep changing.
Fort Benning, I was like, well, maybe we can buy the Universal things. And then it was a couple $100s per person and you can go whenever you want throughout the entire year. And so we just had to pay for hoteling and stuff. But, if you're close there, utilize those. Busch Gardens, you get in free for once a year.
Busch Gardens is so fun usually too.
and you can do, and the Busch Gardens one, you can pair it with the SeaWorld at San Antonio because they're like together, and you can do both, or you can get one ticket for one day and then do the
Yep.
separate park the next day,
Yep.
because we have to take Astrid down to Fort Sam because she's doing genetic testing, and because we're all but 100% positive that she has EDS, but Fort Sam's the only one that has, I guess, the testing thing. I don't know. But we're going down there and we were looking at like, hey, if we're going to San Antonio,
We might as well.
driving all that way, let's see what we can do. Because you're saying that, 12 hours you can drive the whole coast. Well, not so great in
Not
Texas.
so much in Texas, but there's still so much to do. Like that's the thing though, is there's still so much to see in within the state that you live in and as well as outside of it. I mean, obviously it's gonna depend on your family's personality. Like I think most of us are outdoorsy people, so we like to go on adventures. We like to go check out, go on a hike, go check out all these things that are out there that, some people may not like, and that's okay, but there are so many great things out there that if you just take the moment and say, hey, like, what do you suggest is within an hour? I mean, even if you just go to the next city over to get out of the headspace and find something different. When I lived in Texas, my first thing was like, I'm going to Magnolia. Like, I'm going to, and it was so funny because I lived there for almost 3.5 years and didn't go it. So I was like, I am going before I leave. So like we drove down, it was a freezing cold day and it was great. It was so much fun. I met my best friend who lives in Austin there, and so she drove up, I drove down, we met there. It was like a halfway point, like it ended up being perfect. But then there was also like a children's museum that was nearby that we were like, okay, well, mommies will do this and then we'll take them to do this. And we had a great day. Like we ended up coming back in like 3 weeks later because we had such a good time that we wanted to come back again before we had PCS back to the East Coast.
I think that's what makes military spouses, the ones that are really resilient, is the ability to just be like, okay, we're going to see as much as we can in every location that we go to. Because I think it's really weird I met and made a new friend at our homeschool group the other day, and she has been here for a year. This was her first event she came to. She's like, wow, you've only been here for a couple months and you've been to like 5 events. I'm like, we have to, as military spouses, we have to just get out there and do things. And so I was like trying to explain where I live. And I was like, oh, well, the McDonald's on the south side of town. And she's like, I don't know where that is. It's like, it's insane to me to think that people that could just move and be like, oh, we kind of like it here, but we haven't really been anywhere. It's like, for a whole year, you haven't gone anywhere. Like, I
I
can't
think
fathom
that's like my biggest, it's not my biggest frustration, but it is definitely a frustration that I have with military spouses when, especially when I see somebody complain about like, oh my God, like I hate it here. Like there's nothing to do. And I'm like, well, have you been here? No. Have you been here? No. Have you done this, this, and this? No, no. Then I'm like, then you can't say you hate it because you are choosing not to find that silver lining, to find that joy in your location.
We
And
literally do something every single Saturday, something new, because I'm like, there's so much to see. And the thought of us only being here for a year or whatever is like, oh, I would be so disappointed if I moved away and be like, we didn't see this, that, and the other
yes,
thing when I was close enough to see it within a few hours. And that's crazy.
well, and that's where like my thought process is right now because we know we're leaving Virginia here soon. So like I'm already trying to we decided for spring break that we were going to go do camping. Like as a family, we're going to go do a camp out. We're going to go camp out somewhere. Jeremy pulled up some semi close, but I think I'm going to come back with and be like, I want to go to the Shenandoah. What is it called?
It's just Shenandoah.
Shenandoah. Yeah, I think you're right. I was like, is it? Yeah. So I think I was like, oh, let's go there because there's so many really cool things within that state park that we haven't seen yet. And I'm like, well, maybe we can go do that and then do like a skip, hop, jump over to Busch Gardens because it's somewhat nearby. But like all of that's within, I mean, DC is only 4 hours from me right now. Like it's less than 4 hours. I'm going to DC. So I think when this podcast comes up, I will actually be in DC and I'm so excited. And, my kids are like, can we go with you? And I'm like, no. They're like, well, we love DC. And I was like, I know you love DC. And we did that 2 years ago for spring break and had the best time. But I'm like, I'm going by myself and I'm going on a mom trip and it's going to be so dang fun. And I only get to do this because I'm embracing that I have family nearby who can help with the kids while I go on this because I know that this is probably, if we go to Alaska or Hawaii or something like that, I know that this is not going to happen for me again for at least another 3 years. And this has already taken 10 and a half years to happen. So I'm embracing it. I don't care how much money I've spent, which has been a lot, but I've been working extra shifts. I've been saving money and all that kind of stuff. And I think that it's okay to do those things too. Like if you are near location and you have family somewhat nearby, utilize that when you can and take those trips with your spouse or take a trip by yourself. Because we all need that self-care and love. We all know that. We go through hell all the time.
Yeah.
And I think with, especially here, because everybody's like, oh, well, there's nothing to do in the little area around Fort Hood, which, I mean, yeah, there is. It just...
We found lots to do under there, yeah.
There's plenty to do. But the thing is you're an hour from Austin, you're an hour from Waco, you're 3 hours from Dallas, you're 3 hours from San Antonio. Like, get out and go to these places. Fredericksburg is amazing, although it's on fire right now, so I would not suggest going right now because with these winds, it's going to be bad still.
And I think it's such an issue this year in general. Just the amount of dry, especially on the East Coast, like with all the dead trees and stuff down, like and I think that's also like really important to say, like, if you are near locations, and this is just going to be my little like input, like plea of help, like go support the businesses that have gone through hell this year through the Hurricane Helene, especially on the East Coast, and support those businesses when you can, because those areas are struggling. People are like, oh, they're still closed down. They're open for business and they want the guests to come back. So if you're looking for a mountain adventure, North Carolina is ready to have people back.
Yeah, when we were driving to New Jersey, we got stuck with all the 18-wheelers that were having to go around.
Yep.
And I mean, it was funny because, we were driving through the night. So, of course, it was just us and all these 18-wheelers. And, yeah, well, I mean, it doesn't really bother me. But, well, unless what happened this week in Austin with the 18-wheeler plowing through like 17 cars. Yeah, it was a DWI, so that was fun. Yeah, but it just...
it's a long recovery from some of those areas, but like
Yeah.
there's still beauty in the area. I mean, it's changed so drastically, but you still have all these amazing businesses and stuff like that that are there. And this, I mean, not in just North Carolina. I mean, all the way up from Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, into Virginia. I just feel like they can't catch a break because like it's just the infrastructure is so damaged that anytime it rains or snows or ice or wind, like there was a small house fire, a couple houses caught on fire up near the coaster, and it's just like it just kind of keeps snowballing. And but I think that's like something also really important. Like I think as military spouse, I think we all agree with this one that like we like to support local businesses anyway. So like if you can support those businesses on your travels and things like that, like that's really great too. But also utilize all of those great benefits of being a military family.
Yeah, another one that I don't think we've talked about on here is national parks. Obviously, now I work basically for the national park, kind of like I'm constantly learning about Yellowstone. But they do offer a year pass for active duty that's free, essentially. I mean, you have to pay $10 to get the card, but it's basically free. And then they also, if you're a veteran, though, you can get a lifetime pass now.
Yep.
So
I have one.
fantastic. We got that, and you just get a card, and now we can go to all the national parks without even thinking about it. Like, it's just there, it's included.
So you said Yellowstone. Let me throw my little fun fact. My mom was Miss Old Faithful Lodge in the
That's so crazy.
And that's such a small world.
Yeah. So her picture is still hanging up there. It's
Aw.
hilarious. So
I didn't even know that was a thing, but that's hilarious.
so they used to have
Like,
okay,
that's
so you
one
know
of my
in like Dirty Dancing, the like little contests?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what they did and my mom won.
Oh.
Fun fact, I live right down the road where they filmed Dirty Dancing
Nice.
right now, and it's so fun to like go up and walk around the lodge, and the lake's not even there anymore. Like it's kind of like disappeared, but like they have like, the cement stone where they stood on like when they were in the water practicing the lift and stuff, and then you can see, the the pavilion that they danced and where their house and stuff like that, and they have like things all over his, and like that's been so much fun just to go up and just be like, let's do this. And then finding out my husband had never seen the movie, and I'm like, what? You've never seen Dirty Dancing? He goes, I'm a boy. I was like, no, sir.
They
Like,
don't, though, actually, they don't. I made Dustin at Christmas time watch Footloose because he'd never seen it. I was like, what is wrong with you?
what? Ugh. But
They
then
just
I
don't
was like,
watch those shows. It blows my
but you
mind.
never watched the Goonies either. And I was like, how have you never
That's
seen
such a
the
boy show. Why wouldn't
Goonies?
that is weird.
So he's I don't know. I mean, those probably who are listening are like, oh, Ashley's talking about Jeremy. He's a weird one. He is a weird one. Like when it comes to like what we think would be like normal things for like everyone to like, he's like the complete opposite. Like he has to go against social norms, which is so funny to me. But so I've taken like my in-laws, I've taken my mom up there, and they do events up there every so often, and it's been so much fun to just to go up and just be like, see it. I mean, I feel like that is a true piece of like movie history. That movie was, very different for its time, and it's still a classic to today. I love Footloose, and I love Dirty Dancing. So but that was so much fun. Like that was the first thing, like as soon as we found we were moving here, like what's nearby, and when I like Googled like nearby Blacksburg, nearby wherever we were looking at renting, and that was the first thing that popped up, and I was like, no way, this is cool. I didn't know that was there.
See, I think that's what a lot of people need to do is they need to plan like a family members visiting them and just go do those trips that they would take family on their own because like
Yeah.
there's so many fun things. It was really nice because when we moved here to Fort Huachuca, like obviously Dustin and I have been here. Dustin just trained here. This is where his trade doc is, but we hadn't had the chance to travel and see things together. But my dad was also stationed here because he has essentially the same MOS decades ago. And so he was super excited to come out and visit. And he came within the first few weeks of us moving here to Fort Huachuca. And he was like, hey, and this is where we hung out. And we went to here. And he went and got pictures taken at the same place in Tombstone. And that was really nice to have someone that would like guide us through that. But that's not always going to be the case where you find someone who's like, hey, I know where all the cool places are. Let's go do them so that you know where they are so you can do them with your family.
Yeah.
And I feel like in Texas, people are like, oh, well, I have to get on 35 to get there. Don't. Take the back
There's
road.
so many back
Your
options.
GPS will take you the back way. We always take the back way to Austin, and It's
35 sucks.
oh, I hate 35.
Lord.
I'm from 35, or I'm from Texas, and I remember when the construction on 35 started when I started driving back in high school, and it's still going on, and it's going to be here forever. But yeah,
Out of Texas in general, the road construction is a never ending process.
oh
like
yeah,
the 3 years that
And
we
they
lived
don't
in
do it.
Texas, I
They
think
like
they just put cones up for the hell of it. To be
they
completely
just like
honest,
cut you
the
across
cones are our state flower.
the state flower. That's so funny. No, I genuinely like. I was just like, I drive this road multiple times a day, and I've never seen a single person down this road. So why are there thousands of cones? Like, I think they just want the joy of making people miserable in traffic in Dallas, Texas. Like, I think someone
I
just
feel like
genuinely
TxDOT does that on purpose. They're like, when is the most horrible
inconvenient.
time for me to close, 190 right by the base? Oh, let's do it right when everybody's trying to go to PT. We're just going to shut down the highway.
And it's never for like, you're like, what do they do? Like, you're looking around like, what do they do?
It'll be for them to like put up
Fix
one
one
sign
pothole.
or like paint a little arrow in one direction, and you're like, why was that needed? But yeah, the back roads of Texas, you'll find hidden gems, and I always suggest the back way.
So much cool stuff. Like when we were stationed in El Paso, my sophomore year in high school, like we went to White Sands.
Oh, I love White Sands.
White Sands is so stinking cool. And we went to all these other different places. Like, we went a couple places in Nevada and things like that. We drove up to Vegas and all that kind of stuff. And it was, I mean, we were there for, gosh, I mean, the academy is 10 months long. We were there for 10 months, but we got to do all these really cool things that I'm like, oh, this would be really cool to take the kids one day. Like one day, like if we get the chance, like take them to White Sands or, go do all these other things. But man, like if you're just willing to get out of your comfort zone or just out in general, you can find some really fun things. But even like locally, like finding your favorite spot locally is still like an adventure. Like, I loved like when we were at Bragg, like checking out all of the different locations and kind of learning what was our favorite spots and, what wasn't our favorite spots, or, hey, like we love that spot, but we are definitely not going on a Sunday, like, or Saturday afternoon. Like it's just crazy busy.
My just to find coffee shops. So
Yeah.
unfortunately, Huachuca area has like nothing. We have one drive-through coffee place, and then we have not really anything else. There's Starbucks inside of like grocery stores. That's the coffee selection. I miss the bigger towns where you can like, hey, there's 20 different places. We're gonna go to a different one each weekend and see which one we like, whose coffee's got the best.
Yeah.
Like
I do that too.
really
I think that's like one of the very first things that I do when I move is I go around to all the different coffee shops and try the different things. And like that was literally, I think, day 2 when we were here. I went up to the little coffee shop that I saw when I drove in, and I don't like their coffee. Like it's way too sweet, but I like their food and I love the owner. So I just go in there and like now I'll just get like a sweet tea and like I'll grab lunch or something. But it's such a cute little environment, and it's just not my coffee taste. Like they're very, very sweet coffees, and I don't like them, and that's fine. That's my preference. But I still like, I love the coffee shop. I love, like, I walked in and she was just like, I've never seen you before. I was like, yeah, no, I just moved into Pembroke. She's like, oh my gosh. And like, I'd ordered lunch, and she's like, well, here, I'm going to give you my homemade banana pudding. I hope to see you again. And like, every time I come in, she says, hey, Ashley, all this other kind of stuff. And I'm like, oh, like, yes, I need that. And I've tried other coffee shops in town, but I think that, like you said, like that's one of the very first things that I do. And Mexican restaurants. We always go and try the different Mexican restaurants to figure out which one we like the best. That's such a weird thing to do.
No, I love Mexican food. No, I'm down with it.
I was like, you know what? That's kind of weird, but like we like Mexican food. Like that's typically where we go on date nights is Mexican. Or if we decide that we're going to go out to eat, like, 9 out of 10 times it's Mexican food, especially if it's just me and Jeremy. And so like there's a Mexican restaurant right down the street in our town, and we don't like, well, I actually never tried it. Jeremy tried it. He's like, I don't like it. So I was like, okay, fine. So we split our two between the one the closest one to us we typically go to the most because it's closest to us. We like the one that's further away, but it's just further away, so we only go there on date nights. But if we're going as a family, we just go up the next exit. But yeah, no, find those. But then like breweries, I love a good brewery. Jeremy's against breweries. I don't know why. He's a weirdo. Anything like that. But you know, he went to this brewery first because they had an event there for work. He's like, hey, you would love this place. I was like, oh yeah. He goes, plants, weird ass food, and craft beer. And I was like, so he took a picture and they had like this whole wall of like just plants. And I was like, that does look like my vibe. So we started like swapping book club between my house and the brewery. And we're doing book club there this month. And I'm like, I'm so excited because like it's just such a cute little small brewery. It's not as big as like some of the other breweries that we're used to, but it's fun.
Yeah, I think breweries and wineries, I think a lot of people are like, oh, well, I don't drink. You can have so
Yeah,
much
but
fun
you
there,
could
though.
just
There's always live
go.
music. You get to sit outside at picnic tables that are shaded. It's always nice.
I like this brewery because they have like non-alcoholic drinks, like they have like lemonades and stuff like that they
Yeah.
have like on tap, and I love that because then I can like if I have to bring the kids, like I know that there's something there for them as well, and that's nice because I've gone to other breweries where there's not been other things. And everyone's like, why are you bringing a kid to a brewery? I was like, because most breweries are family friendly. Like this place had like they have like a whole shelf of board games, so we'll go and just play board games, and it's just fun.
Say Laura's the expert. She knows a lot about breweries
I
down there.
know.
I kind of judge. I'm a harsh critic, so yeah. But no, yeah, like making it family friendly. Like we always have. I think once every quarter we would do a dog adoption event with the local one of the local shelters here. We had like music, we had bingo, we had karaoke, we had trivia nights. I mean, it we had a local D&D group that would just come meet up there once a week because they needed somewhere that had big tables. And we had a food truck every week or every night, so different food trucks and all that. So
They are family
definitely.
friendly. I mean, I can
Yeah.
think of like a multiple of the ones around the Bragg area that have playgrounds, have all the things going
Yeah.
for them.
Well,
So
and I think that's why I like going to those places like that because then, like, one, as a mom, I can bring my kids, I can go let them play. I can let them just kind of run around on the play. Especially, I mean, I'm a huge dirtbag like fan. If you're at Fort Bragg, I think it's a great location. It's definitely really busy, so I definitely think that there could be more breweries that have an open space. The other breweries that are in town do not have that open space like Dirtbag does, but I understand the appeal to it because the kids can go play. We can sit outside. We can sit inside. There's their food on site. There's always a different type of food truck. There are always different types of events. They do kid events. They do um all different things, and so it's one of those things where if you find a location like that, like
it can just be like a second home. It's something
it
you can
can.
do just to get out of the house without having to feel like you're
Or I
watching your
mean,
kids and supervising all these things going on.
it doesn't have to be an expensive outing. Like, if you just go for the afternoon, grabbing one beer on draft isn't, I mean, depending on what brewery you're at, sometimes it can be super expensive. But at the same time, like if you're there for a couple hours and you've, only spending $14, that's,
It's a pretty good outing. Yeah.
pretty good outing. Yeah. And then like, bringing a picnic blanket. There's just, and then like, I love the ones that do like the farmer's market, which is why I think I like the Dirtbag one because they always do the farmers market on the weekend, so like you can go shopping and check out local businesses. Even if you're not buying things, just window shopping, be like, oh, you know what, this would be a great birthday present for so and so. In a couple months I'll come back next weekend or the following weekend to look at their stuff again, because normally they're all there the same weekends. But I think going out and finding things local is great. Expanding your area like to an hour, 2 hours out. I mean, Bragg is so close to Raleigh. It's so close to Charlotte. There's so many things you can do in those areas. And then, like utilizing like vet ticket
Resources. Let's say the traveling
resources.
a lot of people don't really realize, but travel agents, as of this coming out, you'll have seen on Deployed Love, we posted a girl who does travel agency, but there's a lot of military spouses who do, and you don't
And you
pay
don't pay for
anything.
anything.
You can let them plan your whole trip. They can figure out the discounts. They can look at the locations that have better deals.
Even if you
And
just were like, hey, like, I have this much to spend, I would like X, Y, and Z. Like, I would like an all-inclusive resort, or, I would like whatever the case may be. They're going to find you the best deals because, one, that's how they get paid. Like, they get paid for booking those at those locations. But I think that's a misconception, 100%. Like, that you have to pay for a travel agent, and you don't.
I think that's because in the 90s, it was like such a bougie thing to do.
Yeah.
But now there's so many people who are trained to be travel agents that you
And
can
a lot
just
of it,
find one and then they
and
can
there's
just
so
do
many
all the work
military
for you.
spouses. Yeah.
And it's so nice. Like we had a travel agent to book all of our like trips in Europe. And so I didn't have to like look up all that stuff because it's daunting when you're looking at in
It is.
different languages and you're trying to figure out if this hotel is actually close to where we want to be able to walk from and all these
Yep.
things where they can pull it all up and they get to see the backside of all of those companies and they can see like, oh, yeah, that one's close to location, but this one is $20 less per night. So maybe you want to stay here and then, but it's right along the train. So you're going to be just as easy to get to places. And it made my life so easy because I get too wrapped up in the
Yep.
details when I plan trips and I'm just like, by the time we get planned, I don't really want to go anymore because I'm so
Yep.
over looking up every detail that I'm like, I've already seen it all now. Where that was so much easier in Europe to just be like, hey, we want to go to Montenegro. This is what we want to see. We need a location that's under this price point and we need to be able to get around by foot. And then they just looked it all up, pulled it all together, and like, how do you like this? And you could just switch things around too. Like, you don't have to do exactly what they pick, and you can change things, and it just makes life so much easier. And I think more people should do that.
Yeah, I utilized a military spouse who was an agent, who is a Disney certified agent for
Yeah, we
Disney.
did Disney with that too. It's great.
And I wish I had utilized her a little bit more. Like, I utilized her in booking, the hoteling, all that kind of stuff. She, helped assist with trying to book some of our dining options and stuff like that as well. But in essence, like, a lot of it came down to me planning out like what days we were going where and things like that. But I was also planning for 12 people, and so I think that was why it was so stressful. Don't take on that task. Like, it's but like, I think like with a smaller group, like my smaller family, like, it'd be so much easier to book for a smaller smaller group of people. But you know I I think people don't realize that travel can be affordable, especially like if you're booking through things that you can make payment plans, like Disney. You can make payments on it. Like, you don't like the tickets. If you're buying from MWR, you do have to pay all of that up front, unless like you use a credit card to make payment on that. But like, you're booking your hotel and stuff like that, you can make payments. It's just due by the time that you get there. And so, you
It's the
know
same with like cruises. Cruises are actually pretty affordable because they're not that expensive to start with, depending on where you go. But you can make payments, so you could plan it for a year out and then only be paying a couple $100 a month, and
and
then
it,
you
and
can
it
pay it
makes
off.
it,
Yeah,
and yeah, and it makes it where it's feasible. And I get that, like, they're like, but Ashley, like, we how can you plan a year out? And my thing is still go on the vacation if your service member is gone. I mean, it's the military life. Like, you can't not live in that unknown. Like, I did that for years. Oh, we canceled our wedding. We canceled our wedding again. And at the end of the day, you can't always, I mean, obviously I can't have the wedding without my service member, but like, I'm just using that as an example of, you can't not stop living. Like, like, I'm not going to let my kids not have memories and go on these trips because my service member is not going to be home. My husband has not been home every single summer for the past 5 years. He has been gone 80% of the summer.
and
Like,
the idea of just like not doing anything all summer is crazy.
and exactly.
Yeah,
And so, I felt so, because my husband didn't go on this Disney trip with us when we went a few years ago. And at first I felt bad. And I was like, whatever. And then, like, me and the kids were talking, like, if Jeremy does this unaccompanied tour, I told the kids, I was like, well, maybe this will be our time to go to Disney again. Because at first I was like, there's no way I can go to Disney just by myself with the kids. And I'm like, think about it. Yes, I
they're
can.
getting old enough. Yeah, they'll listen and
Well,
stick
even
around.
on this trip, like, we went when they were younger, they were fantastic. I was so worried about, you know, them acting out because it's tiring and everything. Like, they were, I mean, we had one time where Devlin kind of was just like, I had to kind of like rein him in and be like, no. And then Claire cried over everything because she was 3. But other than that, they were great. And I could have easily handled them on my own. But they are older. So I was telling Claire, because Claire really wants to go back. And my husband, you know, bless his heart, like, just hates crowds. And I get it. He has bad PTSD and stuff like that. And, you know, I think he would suck it up when they got a little bit older, because then, like, there wouldn't be, like, him carrying and things like that. But I was like, well, maybe that's what we can do. Like, if daddy ends up having to do one of these unaccompanied tours, then maybe mom can take us on a Disney trip.
Yeah.
And that can
Still
be
do
kind of,
the things. Like, still, it
well,
doesn't matter.
exactly. I mean, we could probably even go over and see Jeremy, but at the same time, like, she's been, like, Claire specifically has been asking, and I think now that, I mean, that was 3 years ago, so she's much older. You know, I think she'll be, you know, not terrified. She was terrified of the queues, like, being inside the dark, and they're kind of dark, and I get it as a 3-year-old, but she was terrified. And so she cried, like, every time we got in the line. And so, of course, it was miserable for me because I'm like, my child just keeps crying. But we overall had a great time. And so I'm like, now that they're older, we could have even more of a good time and
Yeah.
whatnot. But, you know,
Just do the
take
trip. I learned the lesson to do that my first deployment. So I was by myself, but we were in Hawaii.
yeah.
And like the thought of going through an entire year deployment and just not doing the experiences around Hawaii because I wanted to do it with him was there. Like that was a very real thought. And but then I was like, no, because what if he comes back and we get orders? And he did. I mean, it was probably 9 months later, but we didn't get to do a lot of things because also he came back and I got pregnant. So that takes off like you can't go do parasailing, parachuting, all these things that I'm so glad that I did before, like when he was deployed, because like, yeah, it would have been nice for us to have those memories together. And hopefully sometime in the future we'll get to do that. But I would have been so disappointed to be like, I lived in Hawaii, but did I do this? No, I never went there. I didn't do all the things because my service member was deployed most of the time. And that's hard.
Yeah, I kind of view it as, I'm gonna go check everything out, and then anything that I'm like, oh, he would love this, we can talk about it, like hype him up, and then take him. And I think the kids really like that too, because they'll be like, oh my gosh, can daddy come with us next time? Like, da da da. And it gives them something to talk about with dad, because we all know kids are busy, they're all over the place. And so, like, having the conversation of, hey, like, what'd you do today? Well, we went here, and I cannot wait for you to come home and take you to go there with us. And so, you know, having those experiences, if you even don't have kids, like doing those things, you can kind of get an idea of like what's available, what are the things that you can do when they get home, and say, hey, like, I know you got home, let's reconnect, let's reintegrate, and then we have to go do this together. Like, it was so much fun. It'll be so much more fun together, and just enjoy it, because they're gone all the time, y'all. Like, you cannot not like enjoy life, because then it will be miserable if you just stay at home.
Yeah.
With your head in the sand.
So if you take anything from this episode, go explore. Like, just do it. It's hard. I know. We move all the time, and sometimes we're not in places very long. And it's like, oh, well, what's the point? But you're going to look back at your life and be like, dang, I lived in Arizona for a year, and I didn't go to Saguaro National Park, or I didn't go to White Sands, which is just over the hill in New Mexico. And it's like, you didn't do those things just because you're like, oh, we're only here for a little while.
Yeah.
Like, you're going to regret it. You're going to look back and be like, man, I had all these opportunities and I just sat at home. So like, don't be that person.
Well, and also like you using that time to like encourage your family to come see you, because we've talked about this before, and we've talked about how, you know, it's always the expectation of you come home to visit. And, you know, this is a conversation going like, well, hey, man, like I'm 2 hours from this. Like, why don't you guys come down for Thanksgiving this year? We'll cook Thanksgiving. We can go do this. We can go do that. And, you know, that way, you know, especially like if you have kids, like, you know, traveling with kids over holidays is so rough. I know. And having, you know, if it's just your parents are going home to see, like, hey, like, why don't you guys come see us, and we can do X, Y, and Z. We can go here, we can go do this, and, you know, I can take you to here. Or, hey, like, I know you're a huge Patrick Swayze fan, like, why don't you come here? I'll take you to go see where he stood. You could stand on the block that he stood on. There's like,
Yeah, I'm very grateful that my family loves to travel, and they do see us as our each of our moves is like a location that they get to go explore.
yep,
Like my sister, she's like, "Oh, you might move to Hawaii again. I can't wait to take my husband and we get to go do all that again, all the things." And like that's why she was here in Arizona almost immediately after we moved. She's like, "Now we have a chance to go on all these places that we've never been," and they are able to plan their trip where they stopped at national parks and stuff on the way and the way back, and they love to travel. So it makes our times a lot nicer because they want to see all these locations just like me, where I'm like, oh, I don't mind moving. We can move to another place because now I have this part
yep.
of my world.
Well, and also that, like, go visit your friends, y'all. Like, we have friends everywhere. Like, if you have a friend, that you met in the military who's stationed, heck, like, hey, like, my best friend moved to DC and I've been dying to go to DC. Like, I know my house is always open to anyone who wants to come visit. So, like, just say, hey, like, hey, we really want to come visit DC. Do you mind some house guests? I mean, most of the time they're going to say yes. I mean, especially if they're a good friend. I mean, obviously, I wouldn't just message someone that you were an acquaintance with, but like, utilize your friends, utilize your found family, and go on trips. Like, like there's just so much to do. I mean, and you're traveling and stuff doesn't have to be outside the country. Like we've talked about this before. The United States is a plethora of culture and different climates and all these other different things, all these amazing places that I was thinking of like, well, I really want to go to Europe, but I was like, now, like, yes, I would love to go to Europe with Jeremy, but at the same time, I'm like, I would love to go see the Midwest. Like, I would love to go and check out Yellowstone and go all up in that area. Like, we drove through like North Dakota, South Dakota, like when we went to Alaska. But I think like if we get Alaska orders and we drive again, I'm like, we're driving straight across the country this time and we're doing all these stops on the way. Like,
Yeah.
like
We're so obsessed with travel. So it's like we got the passport for the national parks now. And I'm like, okay, we need to figure out how we can
I can
check
do
as many
all
of
of
these
them.
off as we can possibly do because I want them all on there. And
And they're all so cool.
there's so many
If you
different
think
things. Yeah.
about the geography of the US and all of the different things that you can see just within our own borders, you can see magnificent mountains. You can see beautiful waters. You can see ginormous trees that you think you have to travel outside the country to see, but you don't, and you can easily do all these. If you are cost effective, rent an RV. Driving across the country, make it a trip. Like I really do want to do like an RV trip one summer where we drive and just kind of hit a bunch of different spots and then come home and do that.
People that get to
And
do
I
that. Like our friend Rebecca,
yes,
she's getting ready to leave Bragg, and she keeps telling me about all the different places they're planning to stop. And I'm like, man, I wish we had that luxury to be able to just like, hey, we're
yeah.
just gonna uproot life and go. It's gonna be
And
so
I think
fun.
and I think that's like something like like a 2 week time period is kind of a short time period to do a cross country like trip, like to hit all the places you would want to see, but at the same time like you could still do so much in 2 weeks
Yeah.
and get back to where you need to be. I mean, I've even thought about like Jeremy could just hop on a flight and fly home. Someone can pick him up at the airport and we can take our time coming back. Because usually, like in the summertime, we just have so much time. I mean, last summer went by really fast because I have no idea where the summer went. We did absolutely nothing, which blew my mind because I had all these plans of like, oh, we can go here, here, and here. And it just didn't happen. And sometimes that's life. And sometimes you can't do that. Other times it'll be just like, oh, we have all this time in the world. Let's go do these things. And so I am a big fan of traveling and seeing what's nearby your location.
Like I get
And if you're
excited for
somewhere,
my PCS time to see where we're gonna go because then I'm like, oh, if we get moved to like the West Coast in Washington, I've never seen any of that. There would be just
I know.
weeks and weeks of things to do, and I look forward to going to new
Well,
places.
and
That's so exciting.
I think you're also like me where like when we were looking at our list of potentials, I was looking at things like, okay, well, this would be kind of cool to go to because we've never lived in this part of the country. We could do all X, Y, and Z. This would be the pros, this would be the cons type of thing. Obviously, like we're going to get stuck with where the Army sends us. But, that literally is the very first thing I do. Like as soon as we find out where we're moving, I'll start looking for housing. But I also started looking for what is there for us to do as a family, as for the kids, as for us as adults. Like, what is there for us to do? You know, when I knew we were moving to the mountains, the first thing I was looking up was all the hiking trails that I needed to go. Like, all the hiking trails I needed to do. I have a lot of hiking to do before we leave here because I have not hit all the trails that I wanted to, and I got to
Yeah.
rectify that because
Arizona's kind of been a weird one because I love hiking and it's not the same as
it's
what you
not
would
the
think in
same.
a lot of places.
Yeah.
Like most places charge because, well, I really actually have no
Yeah.
idea why they
Well,
charge for you to go
here's the
hiking, which is wild. But and then there's not a lot of like there's a lot of like free land that you can go on, but you're not going to go hike through the desert, right? Like that's not ideal. So it's not, and the mountains aren't the same. Like I love that we're surrounded by mountains, but they're not like the Colorado mountains where there's
they're not.
trails and hiking.
But I think
It's
that's
just
so
there.
cool though. Like it's so cool that even here in the US, like you have literally every style of mountains
Mm-hmm.
that you can imagine. You have the hilly mountains of the Appalachian, which are they're always going to be my favorite mountains because they're home to me. But then you have like, you know, the Arizona, Texas, like style mountains. You have the Colorado mountains. You have the mountains that are like up in Washington area, and then Alaska mountains, which, you know, are breathtaking.
Mm-hmm.
You know, everyone, Jeremy's like, well, why do you want to go back to Alaska? I was like, look, I loved Alaska, and I'll be fine if we go back to Alaska because it is gorgeous. But I was like, we've been there, we've done that. Let's go do something new. Like that's my mentality of like,
Something
let's go
new.
do
Like,
something new.
although I am excited, it depends on where we were with our kids too. Like we talk about Hawaii all the time. We got married in Hawaii, and like the very much of our relationship prior to kids was in
Was in
Hawaii.
Hawaii, and that's
And so it's like
Alaska.
the idea of going back and being like, hey, this is where we got engaged. This is where we got
Yeah,
married. This is, like all these things. And that is a whole another adventure because it's with our kids now. But
yeah. I mean, I told I was telling Jeremy last night. He was like, you know, how do you feel about this list? And I was like, look, like, you know, I'm not thrilled about the list, but like we'll make the best of wherever we go because
yeah.
like we'll be as a family. Well, maybe unless he gets two unaccompanied, like unless he gets one of the two unaccompanied tours, but it's only a year long, so like we'll make the best do, and then we'll we'll make the do. Like you know, all the locations that were like meh still had positive to them. Like, well, if we go here, we're really close to X, Y, and Z. If we go here, we're really close to X, Y, and Z. And that was the first thought I had. Like, okay, when I was looking through his list, okay, so this base has, you know, meh reviews in terms. I mean, I feel like every base has meh reviews. Like, no one ever loves or likes it. And I think the reason why I love Bragg so much, it's not that I love Bragg. I don't love Fayetteville area, but it's because of the location. Like the location is my favorite. It's close to the beach, it's close to the mountains, it's close to all these things that we could go travel and do if we wanted to.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas, like, you know, like I think that's why I'm so iffy on Alaska or Hawaii because we would just be so confined to that state and
We
that
definitely are
location.
when we're there. Yeah.
And that is kind of like my like, but like we like to go, like we like to visit family. We like family to visit us, and we would be able to have visitors in those, but it would be a little bit more like.
And they just can't
Right.
visit as often. It's
And
hard.
it's expensive, and
It
so
is expensive.
but then I was like, but like, you know, but I was like, if we're gonna go Konos, like please take me to Italy, like put Italy on the list because like at least in Italy we got a whole bunch of places that we can go visit while we're over there, and people will come visit us. And I think like if I have more places that I can go do and see and things, I'm more likely to like it. And I think that's why I'm like, well, let's go to Italy. Whereas Hawaii is I'm confined to an island. Alaska, I'm confined to a winter tundra. Like, and so but like if we go to Italy, then I'm just have Europe at my disposal and we will utilize that in every way possible. So, and then of course, like anywhere else we go, we'll find the silver lining, but that's just our mentality, or that's my mentality of anywhere we go and the way we travel and things like that. Because
yeah, and it goes back to if you aren't being resilient and you're not trying to look for those locations, you're gonna hate it.
yeah,
I would hate Fort Huachuca if we hadn't gone out and gone to these places. It's not fun. Like
yep.
we are backed up literally to the Mexican border. There's nothing south of us. We do only have this open window of certain locations because, like you said, you can't really go further than 2 hours in a day. Like that
Yeah.
becomes just driving. So we are kind of limited in things, but you have to still go out and try to do all the things that you can get to within 2 hours.
And that adventure, like we said, like it doesn't have to be like this grand adventure of, you know, booking a hotel and all this other kind of stuff. Like it could just be getting out and exploring the local market, like the locals. Because I mean, like just that alone, like the culture difference is so different across the
Well, from
country.
city to city, like here,
Yeah.
because you'll have a very conservative and a very like non-conservative areas really backed up to each other, and it's just you go over like this mountain, and you're like, oh look,
And
we're in
like
a different
it's
place,
a
and now we're
whole
in a
new.
different place.
Well,
It's
and
so
that's what's
different.
mind blowing about the U.S. is that you can have all of these things that you think you can only have if you go overseas or go to South America or wherever you're going to travel to. But you don't have to worry about passports or anything like that. Like you can just, you know, these are things that you can go do, you know, and plan without having to think long term of like, oh, I have to get a passport. I got to pay for the passport. I have to wait for the passport. I have to do all these other things. So, but then I'm like, well, if Jeremy gets this job, we'll have to go get passports. But having a plan when you go someplace new, or just asking those who have lived there for a long, I feel like you can ask locals like where are their favorite spots, but then a lot of locals don't necessarily do the things that are local.
Well, I also feel like they don't try new things. If they've lived
Yeah,
here, they're like, oh, well, this diner is our favorite. But there was a diner that opened 5 years ago. They just don't go to it because they
yeah,
are so set in their ways.
yeah.
Locals, sometimes it is harder with locals because they're like very set and like,
But if
this
you
is what
find
we've done
someone who's been
always.
there for like a couple years and say, hey, like, you know, like they're, especially if they're like, I love it here. Like, well, why do you love it here? Like, what do you love about this area? Cause I feel like that's myself. I know Ashley Mercado does this too. Like anytime we hear someone say like, well, I just don't like it here. We're like, well, wait a minute. Like, well, why? Like,
Yeah.
why do you not like it here? Or why, what have you done? They're like, well, I haven't really done anything. I'm like, okay, well, we're going to rectify that. Okay, we're going to go here this week. Next week, we'll meet up and go here. You know, you have little kids. Have you been to the zoo yet? No. Okay, well, this is like one of the best zoos in the country. Let's go. Like, you know, it's an hour and a half drive. Yeah, it's a little far away, but like, let's pack a picnic. We'll go and spend the whole day there as a group of friends. And like, that was how we got out as well, because we, you know, everything like that, but also like bringing people along and saying, hey, like there are things here. Let's do a day trip to the beach. My day trips to the beach were my favorite. They were long and exhausting, but like they're still some of my favorite core memories because of like, hey, we need time to like, let's pack the kids up. Let's all meet at the beach and we'll tag team it. And that's like the best thing to do.
It is.
So.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad we had the chat because this is one of my things that I like. We're both, Ashley and I, hopefully by the next one, one of us will know at least where we're going. I don't know. But we're both just kind of in that limbo, but we're still trying to like go see what's around us because that's what we talked about before we got on was like, what is the point? If I know I'm only going to be here for a few more months, like what is the point? But there is a point to that. Like, yeah, do take advantage of everything that you have while you have it because then you're going to be somewhere else and be like, I remember the hike that I wanted to go on and I didn't do it because I just got too wrapped up in stress. I mean, that's really what it is. I know that I personally, when I'm stressed out, I'm like, well, I'm just going to sit at home because I need to just
like whatever. Two of the ones I want to go on are just a little further away. And so, like, it's not something I could do necessarily, like, when the kids are at school, because that's when typically I've gone on, like, a lot of my solo hikes, like, drop the kids off and I'll go. But I have to be able to get it done within that time frame of when they're at school. And so, a couple of the ones that I really want to do are, like, an hour and a half to 2 hour drive away. So, like, and then they're going to be, like, a 2 to 3 hour hike.
Yeah.
And so, I was telling Devlin, because Devlin's at this age where he wants to go on more hikes and he likes to go further things. So I was like, well, maybe me and you can go on a couple hikes and Claire can stay home because Claire's still at that age where she wants to be carried and that girl is just too big to be carrying for long periods of time. And so like, I'm like, yeah, we'll leave you at home with dad. Because even though Jeremy would want to go on these hikes at the same time, I'm just like, well, you stay home, do your thing, and we'll go do our thing. And again, that's okay to like split up. Like you don't have to do everything together.
Yeah. Well,
but it's fun to do stuff together.
I hope that you guys enjoyed this. I know that we kind of talked about some specific bases, but we would love to hear back from you guys on like, what is your favorite things around your location? I think we'll probably make a couple posts about that so you can kind of chime in on that conversation because I haven't been everywhere. Ashley hasn't been everywhere. So you might have something that one of our listeners are really interested in their location. So make sure you chime in on that conversation, and we will see you guys next time. And as we like to say, Ruck Up Buttercup.